Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Glenorchy City Council. Tonight is the 24th of June 2024 and the Glenorchy City Council acknowledges the Muanina people as the traditional owners of this land. We recognise the Tasmanian Aboriginal people as the original owners and continuing custodians of the land, sky and country and waters of this island, La Trueta. We pay our respect to Aboriginal elders past and present. We commit to working in a way that welcomes and respects all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Just for the record, this meeting will be recorded and live streamed to members of the public via the Council's website, Facebook and our YouTube channel. Now, I'd like to start tonight's meeting by acknowledging and congratulating the newest member of the Glenorchy City Council, Justin Stringer. Welcome, Alderman Stringer. I'm sure you'll serve the people of Glenorchy well. In a few moments, I'd like to give Alderman Stringer an opportunity to tell us a little about himself before we get on to formal business of Council. Gives you a chance to think about something. Prior to that, I would like to thank the people of Glenorchy for the faith they have shown in me to elect me as their mayor. I understand what this role demands and, importantly, what the community needs from this role. And I will put my hand on my heart, roll up my sleeves and pledge to continue to work extremely hard to advance the interests of this city and its community. I would like to acknowledge the effort of other candidates at this election. Putting yourself up for public office is extremely challenging, and I commend all the candidates who clearly wanted to do their very best in representing the people in this forum. I would also like to acknowledge the campaigns of the candidates contesting the mayor's position, particularly Alderman Alderton and Alderman Yaxley. I believe this election was a genuine contest of ideas and was one of the cleanest I can recall ever having participated in, so thank you. Democracy is best served with a strong field of candidates, and I look forward to working with you both as part of this council. Now, regarding the election of the Deputy Mayor, in terms of electing the Deputy Mayor, a nomination process will be opened by the General Manager to allow any elected member to put their name forward for consideration. Aldermen and councillors will participate in a secret ballot election at the next ordinary meeting of Council on the 29th of July. Just to reiterate, the role of Deputy Mayor will be decided by the people around this table from one of the people around this table, as all council positions are now filled. As to the elector poll and the pool, people will have seen that the Glenorchy by-election also contained an elector poll relating to the Glenorchy War Memorial Pool. I'm extremely pleased that the poll has been ratified and endorsed, I'm extremely pleased that the poll has ratified and endorsed Council's plan to repair and reopen the pool as a matter of priority, as well as seek longer-term solutions for the pool. The project to repair and reopen the pool is progressing well with the recent completion of a detailed site survey and geotechnical assessment of the grounds, both of which are needed for the design work. Specialist engineers and architects are using this information to develop a scope of works and detailed designs in readiness to tender for the pool to be repaired. The project to secure the long-term future of the pool is also progressing well and on track for completion in August. MI Global is finalising the cost estimates and cost-benefit analysis for each of the pool options selected by the community in the first round of engagement. Once this work is completed, community will be consulted on its preferred option. A concept plan and business case will then be prepared for the preferred option, and this will give us what we need to seek federal government funding to progress the pool's long-term future. Detail on both projects can be found on our website. Now, disturbingly, I have a brief commentary on youth crime and antisocial behaviour. I would also like to talk briefly about an issue that is currently proving extremely challenging for our business community, as well as for our wider community. Youth crime and antisocial behaviour is again causing some terrible problems in our municipal area. We are seeing people getting verbally and physically assaulted. Shop owners and their employees are frightened for their physical safety. It is something we should all be extremely concerned about. I don't want to make this about the kids. All of us around the table know that we are talking only about a very small minority of individuals who are causing these problems. But the simple fact is they are having a terribly detrimental effect on people's sense of safety. No one wants to see our city unsafe. No one wants to hear businesses talking about closing their doors because their staff are too scared to go to work for fear of being confronted and threatened. And yes, this has happened to our own council staff too, just to be clear. It affects every part of our community. I want to be very clear that I want to tackle this issue with the help of my colleagues and staff. I don't believe it should be up to the council on its own to have to deal with every aspect of this problem, because in many instances the causes are likely to be extremely complex and will need the buy-in of other government agencies and services. I do want to start by giving businesses a voice and giving them a chance to be heard. So I'll be arranging for a business forum to occur in the shorter term, which I'm sure will give us all greater insight into the issues and allow us to move forward on developing solutions. Now, Alderman Stringer, I would like to invite you to introduce yourself to the council table and our guests and take a minute or so to tell us a little bit about yourself and why you stood.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Feel free, Stan.
Thank you. I'll just tell you a little about myself and where I'm coming from and why I love the Glenorchy and the northern suburbs so much. So it was post-World War II. It was actually where both of my grandfathers actually moved down from Geelong and country town from Victoria to work down here in Hobart in the ports. They actually moved out to Chigwell area, and they both met each other on the very first day when they were actually going to catch a train back into work. They started playing football together, both my grandfathers. They played for Hobart until one of my grandfathers got traded to Sandy Bay. But they both lived up here in the northern suburbs, and they both got married to some local girls and had 4 children each. This is where one of my grandfathers started a shop out there. He had a milk bar shop out in the northern suburbs called Stringer's Milk Bar or something for quite a while. And this is where my mother actually worked part-time as a teenager. So she met my father in the actual shop that they worked together as teenagers. So they grew up, obviously got married and had 4 kids themselves, and I'm one of them kids. So my family have always loved the area, always been raised in the area and worked in the area as well. My father represented Glenorchy in the football club for many years, as well as other community projects as well. So now that I'm raising my own kids, 2 sons, I'm married myself for the past 10 years, and it's about my turn now to give back to the community that me and my family have loved for so much, and I want to actually see it to go into a great direction that that future generations can actually really be happy with. I see Glenorchy as a very lucky spot in the world as well. Not only is it a beautiful location in Australia and Tasmania, but just in the world in general. We are a safe place. We are very environmentally friendly. We've got a lot of things happening. So we should be very proud of it, and it's time just to take it to the next level. So thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I'm very happy to be here to work with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we move on to the meeting proper, and I have the apologies. Does anyone have an apology? No, we're full house. Confirmation of the minutes. We have 2 lots. The first is for Monday, the 27th May 2024. Thank you very much, Alderman Slade. Anyone to second them? Thank you, Harry Quick. Oh, sorry, Councillor Quick.
It's close.
Any discussion?
No discussion from me.
Any discussion? Anyone else for discussion? No. I'll put that motion. All those in favour, raise your hand. That is carried unanimously. And now we have the minutes of the special council meeting of Glenorchy, and these are the ones from Monday, the 17th of June. Sorry?
Okay.
Oh, thank you very much, Alderman King and Alderman Alderton. Any discussion? No? Then I put the motion. All those in favour, raise your hand. Okay, so we'll have Alderman Stringer, we've got Alderman Yaxley, we've got Councillor Kendall, Councillor Quick, Alderman Dunsby, Mayor Suhiki, we've got Alderman King, Alderman Slade, and we have Alderman Alderton, thank you, as yes, and abstaining or not attending.
I would say abstain. It's always an hand.
Abstain, yes. Thank you, and that's Josh Cockshott. So it's carried. We've done announcements from the chair, and now, does anyone have any pecuniary interest notification? No? Okay, item 5 is response to previous public questions taken on notice. Question by Deanne Gilly Shaw from Granton. We've looked into that and provided the answers. It's always a lot more complex than it sounds. We also have another question from Deanne Gilly Shaw at Granton on behalf of Michelle Austin, and that's about the historical archives, and that's been answered. We're now moving on to public question time. The council is a formal meeting of the elected members elected by the Glenorchy community and is chaired by the mayor. Public question time is an opportunity in a formal meeting for public to ask questions of their elected council representatives about matters that affect ratepayers and citizens. In accordance with Regulation 31(2) and 3, Public Question Time, Local Government Meeting Procedures, Regulation 2015, Council will allocate 15 minutes during each council meeting to invite members of the public to ask questions relating to the activities of council. Now, we do have some rules, and these rules and procedures are: 1, questions must relate to the activities of council. 2, members of the public are to announce their name and residential address before asking a question for the minutes. Questions are to be put succinctly and in the form of a question and not a comment or preamble. Questions must not be inflammatory, abusive, defamatory, contain a personal attack, or otherwise breach any rules of the meeting which have been explained by the chairperson. The chairperson may limit the number of questions asked by each member of the public in order to ensure that all members of the public wishing to ask a question are given the opportunity within the allocated time. The chairperson will decide the order in which the questions are asked, and the chairperson may, in their absolute discretion, refuse to answer a question if the chairperson deems it to be inappropriate or does not comply with these rules or the rules of the council meeting. The chairperson may take a question on notice, in which case the answer will be provided in writing prior to the next council meeting, included in the agenda for the next council meeting. If a question is taken on notice, the chairperson may request that the member of public submit their question in writing and may refuse to provide a response if the question is not provided as requested. The 15 minutes allocated for question time may be extended at the discretion of the chairperson at the conclusion of the time period. Council is to publish information relating to public question time, including any additional rules and procedures, on the website. So, do we have any public questions? Thank you, Alderman Miss Bryant. Alderman Miss Bryant. Sorry.
This is about the YMCA. Could council please explain why there's been a delay in the approval of the building permit urgently required to allow the YMCA upgrade and redevelopment to proceed, as penalties will need to be paid to the construction company for the 9th of July if the council's delay in issuing the building permit continues.
Good, thank you. And I can assure you no one wants to see that YMCA opened any faster than everyone around this council. But I do have an answer for your question, and the building application for the YMCA was received on the 15th of May 2024. Approval was not able to be granted at that time due to the need to also apply for and obtain a plumbing permit due to the concerns with the stormwater connection. An application for the plumbing permit was then received on the 5th of June 2024, but did not become valid until the 11th of June 2024 when the application fee was paid. Council's development engineer resolved concerns with the stormwater connection on the 20th of June 2024, last Thursday. If no further information is required, both permits, building and plumbing, will be issued tomorrow morning within their respective statutory timeframes.
Thank you.
Good. Any other questions?
It's just that, with the first, there must have been 2 applications because there was one last year in September and it was called a preliminary development application. So then you're citing one that's this year, so there must have been a change to it.
Shall we take that on notice, or do you know?
Through you, Mayor, I might suggest the Deputy General Manager.
Yes.
Through you, Mayor, the first application was the development application, which is the planning permit. But that didn't come with a building application or plumbing application.
Right.
Like the civil design was not actually submitted. There was a condition on their planning permit that they must submit before they could be issued with the building approvals, which we've only just received recently.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. Right. The second question, on the 27th of May, at the 27th of May meeting, the General Manager advised the government had confirmed they would honour repayment of any preliminary funds spent on the pool prior to finalising the deed of grant for the 5 million funding. Does this mean the council is now able to proceed with the urgent repairs to the pool? And will the most urgent repairs to be prioritised to allow the pool to reopen, whilst the less urgent repairs and upgrades can then be progressively carried out?
Through you, Acting Mayor. So we had an initial meeting with government officers around that issue of the funding agreement. The indications were from the government officers that that they would be looking favourably on council starting to commit funds in advance of the funding agreement being signed. We don't have a finalised funding agreement at this stage, but nevertheless, council officers have we've taken preliminary steps in relation to the project. I understand we've done a site survey. We're getting geotechnical work done on the pool site itself. So works are underway in terms of the preliminary steps to progress the project. I'm not sure whether the Deputy General Manager has anything further to add.
Through you, Mayor, that's correct. We have started. We haven't got that commitment yet. They were chased up again today, actually, for a written commitment promise that we could, start to spend money and have it reimbursed. However, we're not letting that stop us for the preliminary planning stages. So we have got survey done, geotechnicals done. We've got some inspection openings on the pool open, so the engineer can look at what sort of drainage systems involved. So we are pressing on. In answer to your question about the priorities, we'll definitely try and hit the high priority items first. But what we're finding is many of the tasks are intertwined, so you can't do one without the other, or you can't do a major one without the small one being involved anyway. So we may not be able to open the pool and then finish off things, but we will certainly try to get it open as quick as possible.
Yeah, so there's no sort of indication of a time frame at this stage.
Well, we're still working on the project plan and we're waiting on the engineer to finalise the total scope, and then we'll have to go to tender as part of our procurement process and get a definite timeline of the contractors. So we'll be able to hopefully put something to the public towards the end of this year.
Okay, thank you very much.
And Ms. Bryant, we're also going to endeavour to have an update at every council meeting of any progress.
That's great. Thank you. Thanks very
You're
much.
welcome. Thank you. Ms. Gilly.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the new chairs. Last month, I heard mention of a workshop that councillors attended regarding the hydrotherapy pool that's leased to Revive, and hearing rumours that in the community that Revive are only paying $200 a week and subletting to St Giles for perhaps $2,000 a week. So my question is, do any of the aldermen know the details of this lease and are they happy with it? Can anybody shed some light on what's happening?
Well, I can say that I'm one of the aldermen who've met with both parties, and I've also met with Simon Barakas and the acting general manager. And so it's a matter of two leases between the two organisations. I'll pass it over to the Deputy General Manager we're still working through it, basically.
Thank you, Mayor. It's a little complicated with the agreement that's in place. It is a commercial arrangement that is binding the two companies, Revive and St Giles, together. And whilst council is the owner of the pool, there is a lease that's still valid in place with Revive, and Revive entered into and so did St Giles, entered into an agreement jointly to operate and run the pool. The details of the what they're paying for what service, council's not privy to, but that was entered into about 7 years ago in good faith, and everything was seemed to be going well. Recently, obviously situations changed, and St Giles are looking to remove themselves, but they've got to deal with the lease, the legal details of the lease to actually release themselves. So we've been encouraging them to connect with St Giles, Revive and St Giles, to actually go through a mediation process to try and resolve the matters.
Very good. Can we know how long that lease is still valid for? How much longer is there to go? Does anybody know?
Through your Mayor, it expires in 2027.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further questions from the floor? There being none, I do have some on notice, and they are in the agenda. The Moona Nature Mates, and they've asked what community consultation did the GCC engage in before making a decision to install disc golf course in Jim Baker Memorial Reserve, and what policies does the GCC use when considering new activities or developments in the parks, reserves and other open spaces. These are in the agenda if you'd like to read them. And we also have a question on notice from Robert Holderness Rodham, who is advocating strongly for a pedestrian refuge crossing on Main Road at Austin's Ferry near bus stop 42 without success. But he was surprised to find one constructed on Main Road south of the junction at Hestercombe Road at Goulds Lagoon. And again, the explanation is there. Now, with your indulgence, I just need to skip back to item 3, which is announcements by the Chair, which got caught up in my paperwork. The first one is a letter from the Honourable Nick Street, MP, and he wrote to acknowledge that he acknowledged the claim for the pool for the $5 million for immediate repairs and restoration of the pool. Very pleased about that. And he's also written to his Australian government counterpart seeking funding for any future redevelopment of the site being the pool. And then the Honourable Ella Haddad also put the petition of 619 petitioners regarding restoration and saving the Glenorchy War Memorial Swimming Pool. And she did that at 5:29 on I think it was the 24th of June. I think that's right. So pass that on. And then announcement 3 is a letter that I have received from the Honourable Senator Abetz. No, he's not a senator, he's the Honourable Member of Parliament, Eric Abetz. And he's now the Minister for Transport, and he wrote regarding a follow-up letter we sent about the very dangerous intersection and the requirement, or request rather, for proposed traffic lights at the corner of Foreshore Road and Brooker Highway intersection. So we'll continue to lobby hard. He's apologising for the delay, but says it's in the final stages of development and funding sources for construction are currently being investigated. And I believe, I have another one. And this is from the Premier, Jeremy Rockcliffe, who's very grateful for having been re-elected for a historic 4th term in office. Looking forward to working very hard for all of us And he's just explaining with the timing of the state election, the budget will now be handed down on the 12th of September 2024, which is why it was so critical for us to get a guarantee on that pool to get work started on it as soon as we possibly could. So now we're back up to speed and we're moving on to item 7, any petitions addressing council meeting or deputations?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Activities of the mayor. Who'd like to move this? Alderman Dunsby. Thank you. Seconded, Alderman Quick, was that? No, you weren't. Okay, Alderman Cockshott.
Thank you. Very pleased to receive the listing here of the activities of the mayor, but I believe there's a couple of items that haven't been listed within that. I'm just wondering if they can also be listed and included. So, thank you. So on Friday the 14th of June, I'm aware that you went and visited Alan Yu from Moona News Agency and Tobacconist regarding the racism that has happened in the Moona area. Also visited Bento Moona and visited Heavenly Shoes Moona in the same matter. So we just need to get those added onto the listing if everybody's happy to see that added to it, and I'm happy to do that as the mover to have that included as well.
Has anyone got any discussion on the points raised? Thank you, Alderman Cockshott.
Thank you, Mayor. Looks like you've had a busy month. My question is in regards to on the Thursday, the 6th of June, you met with CEO of Basketball Tasmania to discuss infrastructure in Glenorchy. Just wondering if you can give us an update in regards to what the meeting agenda was about and what was discussed.
Yes, it was a fabulous meeting. Basically, they are the Glenorchy football team. Basketball team, and they don't have home courts, and they're desperate for more courts, and so they were quite interested in the facilities that may be proposed with the state government. They're very keen to work with council in any way that can assist. Do you have anything to add on that, General Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. I think fair to say that the meeting was pretty cordial, and that Basketball Tasmania are pretty much in alignment with council in terms of the process that we're going through with those courts. So the state government and council officers are working together to select an appropriate site within Glenorchy for the 4 community courts, and that process is ongoing. And we shared that with Basketball Tasmania, and they were comfortable with that process.
Very good meeting. Thank you, Alderman Alderton.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of questions regarding a couple of meetings you've had. First of all, on the 29th of May 2024, you met with the President of the Friends of Glenorchy Pooling Corporation. Are you able to share any information with the elected members in regards to what transpired and what was discussed in that meeting?
Yes, there are another group of very interested people in connected to the Glenorchy pool. They just wanted to introduce themselves to me and to offer any assistance they can going forward in any funding proposals, or, you know, again, like all pool groups, they're quite interested that we have a really good outcome. So that's all it was about.
Very good. And on the 5th of June, Honey Pitt's been quite active, the CEO of St Giles, in emailing all the elected members, including me. So, and I thank Ms Gilly for a question tonight. It's probably taken the thunder out of what I was going to ask you, but are you able to elaborate further on the meeting with Honey, whether you feel it was a positive meeting, whether we've got some sort of outcome here, and whether we've guided her down the right path, so to speak, in seeking a resolution for this rather than trying to get council to solve the matter for her?
Yes, I thought it was a very positive meeting. I think we all left with the same conclusion, that is that we all want the same outcome. We want that pool maximised for the use of people with disabilities and people in need of warm water therapy. And Simon Barakis is happy to offer his officers as mutual territory for all parties to discuss it at any time. So the latest is that we have asked
Mr Kingston? Or
Sorry?
you've asked Mr Kingston to get involved?
No, we've asked St Giles to meet with Mr Kingston and try and work it out together or seek mediation. So that's where we're at the moment. But we're all of the same opinion. We want that pool activated, used, and by the people who desperately need it.
Right, thank you. Very good.
Thank you. Any further questions? Thank you, Alderman Dunsby.
Yeah, and a question just around your meeting with Dean Coleman on the 23rd of May regarding disability housing in Glenorchy.
Yes. Mr Coleman is already involved in several projects on the mainland, I think predominantly Melbourne, where he does a lot of work in disability housing, and he was looking to see if there was any land around in Glenorchy or other areas where they might look to do the same thing for need. Did you have any other views on that?
Thank you, Mayor. I understand that council officers had further discussions and the Deputy General Manager might be able to elucidate on that point.
Thank you, Mayor. We actually did a site tour of a number of properties that council has on the land release list, and with his project manager to see if there's any that would be suitable. They're still a little way away from release, but that's fine because they take a little bit of time to plan out what they want to do on those properties. So he has got a list and description of that land, and he said that they'll come back to us with anything that they think would be suitable for their users.
Yes, he does specialise in the very hard to house, so it would be lovely.
Thank you. All housing is good housing. It's
Yes.
really great to hear. Thank you.
Okay.
Nothing further.
Any further questions? Thank you, Ms Kendall.
Thank you,
Councillor.
Mayor. So yeah, I was curious about on the 8th of June, the Culture in the Park event, because this was one of 8 or so, I believe, events that received cultural celebrations grants that the city was offering. So, and I was interstate, so I wasn't able to go, but I'm interested in your perspective.
Well, by the time I got there, I was quite early. There was some fantastic music being played. There weren't a lot of people there at that stage. There was some magnificent food, and there was certainly our staff there helping out with face painting. There was, I know, very good security with the cars and the car parking. I'm not certain attendance was, could I ask Alderman Slade to elaborate, and then perhaps Alderman Yaxley?
I think we all went at different times. I was at 2 o'clock later, and there was a big gathering at that stage, and it was a good event, a good community event. Like all those events, we can improve in different ways and whatever, but I mean, the fact is that people turned up. It was a great family that was there, and so it was a good community event for the purpose of what its aims and objectives was.
Would you like to add?
Nothing more than what you've had, and I was there quite early, so.
But it was a good opportunity for us to meet the leaders of the community, and they were very excited. Anything else? Anyone else got a question? No? So in that case, with that little amendment, I ask if you'd like to sum up.
Nothing further. Thank you.
In that case, I shall put the motion. All those of that opinion say aye. It's unanimous. Now moving to item 9, which is the Derwent River Ferry Expansion Program. Who'd like to move this one? Alderman Cockshott. And seconder, or Alderman Yaxley. Any discussion?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to say it's very exciting to see this on the agenda today. I think we've already seen how successful the project for the ferry has been with the Bell Reef scenario and testing. Obviously, over 200,000 people have used the service. And when the Ashes test was at Bell Reef, there was over 10,000 passengers use it. So quite clearly, it's a mode of public transport, and the synergies with Metro as well are detailed in the report. Obviously, we're just looking at consultation in regards to what the Wilkinson's Point site looks like, but I see it being a good thing to access our waterways, particularly moving forward and thinking longer term. And obviously, there is support at a state government and a federal government level as well. So it's good to see this is being discussed and moving along nicely. So I'm really excited to see how all this project forms over time.
Thank you. Alderman Yaxley.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, my thoughts are that obviously ferries are a great transport option. They don't necessarily fix the road traffic congestion that we have, but that will obviously hopefully take away a little bit of the strain. Regarding the Wilkinson Point, obviously that area's had many promises recently with LK Group's vision and that not quite going ahead. The Jack Jumpers Multipurpose Centre and Community Court's no longer going ahead there. So my concern is a little bit around that area's been promised a lot and not much has been delivered. So I do hope that will continue, that it will proceed. My only query was around the Montrose Bay site in the report. It did rate significantly better with access, but obviously the issue with that was the cost of building it was greater. So I'm looking forward to hearing back about the report into that, and whether that's a cost benefit that we can see. Whether Montrose Bay is perhaps better, but I'm looking forward to the report. So my main key thoughts are around with Wilkinson Point is the car parking for me is a really important part to be able to, whether people go there to then access into the city or a range of things. I think car parking is really important. Obviously, you've got a number of different modes with cycling and walking, but again, if you're doing that, today's weather, it would be quite cool and windy. So in winter, perhaps there was a reduction in use, which was a concern. And obviously with Metro, they're not necessarily the most, they don't bring you much confidence at the moment in terms of services and time. So I'm happy to proceed with the recommendation, and I look forward to seeing that report. But I'm still advocate for car parking and into Metro.
Thank you. Any further debate? Thank you. Oh, sorry, Alderman King.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, this is an exciting proposal if it comes off, and I don't be negative in saying that, but it's like Alderman actually said, there's been promised a lot at this point over many years, and I really hope it works. I just point three that we had a really good workshop on this the other day, and I feel well informed about the potential. I use the word potential of this, and provide in principle support for the establishment of a proposed new passenger ferry terminal. Is it refurbished or is it new? Just, I don't want to be pedantic, but
there's an existing facility there that they're looking to utilise.
Yeah.
I'm not clear at this stage what modifications might be required to the terminal, but the designers have looked to produce a fairly standard terminal design to use at multiple sites within the Derwent. At this stage, there are three shortlisted sites: Wilkinson's Point, Sandy Bay, and Lindisfarne. And the intention is that there be the design I've seen, which is only preliminary, is for a walkway to a covered floating or fixed terminus in the water. We're yet to see the details in terms of Wilkinson's Point. It's only a preliminary design yet, but I understand they're looking to try and use the existing infrastructure if they can.
So it would be refurbished rather than new, or adding to, or so the community know that we're not wasting what we've already got there.
Yeah.
Potentially.
This is through you, Mayor. This is seen as an advantage of Wilkinson's Point that it's got existing infrastructure in place and therefore a lower cost required to achieve. There's a big block of concrete in the water that they need to move from the past construction activities for the Bowen Bridge. So there is some work they've got to do in the water to shift that. But we haven't seen a detailed design at this stage for Wilkinson's Point.
So again, my point is it's likely refurbished rather than new, or added to, or just against the public. No, we're not wasting what we've already got there. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Alderton.
Thank you, Mayor. More a question now because Alderman King's stole my thunder a bit and asked the question I was going to ask. That's fine. Very good workshop we had the other day, by the way, and I'm all for any way we can enhance and improve our transport network. I'm all for it. It doesn't have to be buses or ferries or trains. It needs to be a compilation of everything. The question I have is in regards to, obviously, there's going to need to be a lot of work done out there to support the ferry terminal. General Manager, what impact or what does this do in regards to our commitment to Lloyd Road? Would this expedite the construction of Lloyd Road? And obviously, I feel that $2.4 million probably isn't going to do the job. So if it does, are the state government going to pick up the shortfall if we need to proceed with Lloyd Road? Or does this mean we don't proceed with Lloyd Road if it goes ahead because what originally was planned may or may not happen? Are you able to elaborate on that?
Through you, Acting Mayor, through you, Mayor, sorry. I'm having to die hard. As part of the negotiations with the state government, when we sold Wilkinson's Point, obviously retained the end of the point and the Gasp foreshore walkway, but the balance of the site was sold to the state government, including the My State Bank Arena, the now My State Bank Arena. The land outside of the My State Bank Arena is owned by state government. I understand there are negotiations underway with an interested party for the purchase of that land. We're not privy to that. I am hoping to get an update on that from a state official tomorrow afternoon, and I'm not sure how progressed that is. In terms of the location of Lloyd Road, Council, as part of the agreement with the state government, retained Lloyd Road from an area near the end of the point all the way through to Goodwood Road. So we have that section of road which obviously has some issues with it, existing issues. The $2.4 million contribution related to the relocation of Lloyd Road from its current position, which was to run through effectively the middle of the length of Wilkinson's Point, if you know what I mean, to wrap it round back along the fence with the racecourse. The idea being that it provided more efficient development sites. At this stage, given that the state, part of the rationale for that was also to accommodate the community courts and the high performance facility, which are now obviously not going to be located in that location. So at this stage, it's a bit of a, we're looking really to the state government to say, well, what are your plans? But our contribution was capped at 2.4 million.
Yeah, because I was out at the site having a bit of a look on the weekend, and obviously, if we do go ahead with the ferry terminal, there's no real road out there. So somebody's got to build a road, General Manager. Does that fall on council or does that fall on somebody else?
Through you, Mayor. As part of the negotiations with the state government, we were very firm about there needs to be road access to the end of Wilkinson's Point. So that needs to be retained. I mean, it's what we have at the moment towards the end of Wilkinson's Point.
So will we be obligated to build a road to the ferry terminal or not? No.
Through you, Mayor, there's going to need to be, I mean, it's kind of a bit of an exercise in hypotheticals. There are, I guess the report that we've had in relation to ferries quite clearly states that there is a low residential catchment in relation to the Wilkinson's Point option. Therefore, it's not really seen as being a ferry terminal that would be necessarily serving as a, I was going to say park and ride, sail and ride type catchment for residential people. I think it's been seen more as being an events-based opportunity, both events at the My State Bank Arena and potentially events at let's say, a new AFL stadium if one arises. So it's been seen from that perspective. But in terms of the larger piece of the jigsaw, there's a fair bit of unknown because we're not sure of the state government's plans around the balance of that part of the site. Yeah. I hope to get a further update.
Which is obviously important to know because, if we're going to make a supported decision here on implementing or supporting a ferry terminal, it would be nice to know what the missing pieces of the jigsaw puzzle are and what they're going to cost and who's going to pay for it.
Yes. I agree.
I think there'll be many more reports on autumn.
Thank you.
Reports on reports. Thank you. Alderman Dunsby.
Thank you. I note that this report is the very first step. It sits under the city deal, and it is also part of the Greater Hobart Councils, who will also have to, like us, approve this first stage for it to progress any further. So, a lot of the basic information is there, but there's a lot of detail still to be provided. I'm happy to accept it at that point, that we've got it at this point now to see that we can undertake those things that need to be done and get an advocacy campaign happening as well. I'm very happy to see it happening, and I concur with people who've also mentioned how good the workshop was to inform us around this. Thank you.
Alderman Slowe.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Look, I'm happy with the recommendations. Look, for nearly 30 years, I've been sitting here and nothing's happened out there. So this is, to me, is an opportunity to further advance that. To me, I see these as a lot of them are noting, a lot of them are just, it's like people saying, we're starting the process here. General Manager's got it spelled out very clearly. It's all encompassing. I'm happy to see, I think, look forward to see those reports coming back and to see what stages are going to happen. I think it's important to remember out there that I think an area that the General Manager is referring to is really going to be targeted very much for the tourism, that sort of thing, rather than your CBD sort of pick up ride and get off sort of thing. But also at the end of the day, we've got a good area out there for somebody to come and park there. And realistically, the concrete works are still out there, which they use for when they build the Bowen Bridge. So not a lot has happened since there, but I think this is a great start, Mayor. There's no locking in here. It's just we're noting the process. We're looking at what's happening. We're authorising the General Manager to do A, B, C, A and B, and I'm looking forward to this progressing and hope it develops a bit of excitement in this space about having more activity on our Derwent River.
Thank you. Councillor Quick.
Thank you. I think it's a great idea. Finally, some Greater Hobart City deal money is being put. It's been sitting in the bank for probably 5 years and nothing's happened. I can't believe it takes 2 years to get the ferry service up and running. I mean, Bell Reeve got pretty basic, when you go there, that there's no kiosk, there's only parking for probably 20 or 30 cars. Why can't we do it a heck of a lot sooner? One other issue is the recalibration of the traffic lights at My State Arena. You've only got to see when jack jumpers are playing, the traffic coming out of Hobart, extends almost down to Bunnings. If we're going to encourage people to use it, I think we need to recalibrate those traffic lights. At the moment, someone walking a dog across the road from Glenorchy side to the My State Arena stops hundreds of cars. I mean, we need, an underground, or as I say, a total recalibration of those traffic lights if this is going to be a success.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Thank you. Councillor Kendall.
Thank you, Mayor. Reiterating the sentiments of my fellow elected members, I'm really excited to think about Greater Hobart having an active ferry program, which would be incredible, and I think it will be taken up by people coming and parking and using it to catch the ferry into town if they work in the city. Really exciting prospect. A few questions. Environmental stakeholders, will they be involved in the initial planning stage of choosing a site?
General Manager.
People like the Derwent Estuary Program or the EPA, just in terms of the physical, what dredging needs to be done. I just get worried because of the, long industrial history along the Derwent of the impact.
Through the Mayor. I think the report is generally, the recommendation is simply referring to stakeholder consultation generally, but clearly, council is aware of, wash issues arising from, for example, the existing Mona ferry. So, it will be important to engage, with all stakeholders, including environmental stakeholders, in relation to, this new activity.
Excellent. Another question was point 8 in the recommendations. So it's talking about parking, and I think it's really important to actually provide a provision for people to have all-day parking and to have proper infrastructure for them to do that, alongside bike infrastructure as well, park and ride. So what's this actually seeking to do, this point 8? Because I think limiting all-day parking, I don't think we want to do that necessarily. I think we want to provide a provision. Like, what's it seeking to do is my question. Are we trying to stop people from parking there all day, or are we going to manage it, or cost recovery?
Thank you.
Through you, Mayor, might ask the Deputy General Manager, as the author of the report, just to comment on that point.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. The philosophy that the state government is taking is that they don't really want to provide parking. In the report, I think it states that the state government have clearly stated that they want to do a link with public transport to the ferry terminals. And I think locations like the Sandy Bay location, Lord's Beach, has very limited parking available. Linda's Farm will only have a small amount of parking available. The benefit we have at Wilkinson's Point is there is some land there, but as the General Manager said, we really don't know what the full intention of the rest of that site is at the moment. Point 8, or recommendation 8, is to try and be a bit proactive and investigate what might happen if people do want to park all day around residential streets close to the ferry terminal, and either jump on their scooter, ride their bike, or walk. So we may have some future impacts that we have to address in the residential areas. In the body of the report, we have stated though that because there's land available at Wilkinson's Point and the state government land on the corner of Goodwood Road and Brooker Highway, that they may be utilised initially for some parking if this becomes a popular option. But we're yet to have those discussions with the state government at this point, but we want to be proactive about getting on top of what impacts might happen if people decide to park in residential streets and use up spaces all day long.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
And just to add to that, Mayor, I think this report is also a fairly similar format to a report that's gone to other councils. So there are a variety of different issues relating to each of the individual sites. And we saw with Bellerive the issues that they had in Bellerive with effectively ferry users parking out the streets around the terminal. So that I think we obviously, it's a kind of a, given the race courses close, I don't want to say it's a horses for courses thing, because that'd be a bad pun, but the point I'm trying to make is that each of the terminals has different circumstances, different site contexts, and parking is going to be, we'll need to look at parking for each of those sites, on their own merits for each site. This is really about, is council comfortable in principle taking these investigations further? So it's not a speak now and council will lose its opportunity to pull things back. It's if council is in principle in support, we can make further investigations, and of course if there are issues that arise, we can bring those back for resolution.
All right, Thank you. I grew up in Adelaide, and it really surprised me when I moved to Hobart 15 years ago that people really expect to be able to drive and park right out front of the thing that they're going to. So I think it's important we keep a realistic lens on whether I think people will be driving and parking there. So keeping that in mind and making sure we actually provide for that at the outset would be wise. My final point is just a clarification in the resolutions 5B, just the wording of it. I thought it wasn't quite clear whether we're going to investigate Wilkinson's Point and Montrose Bay or one or the other or both, just so maybe we can be a bit clearer in our wording. Maybe that was my comprehension.
I think that's due to the fact that the government hasn't ruled out Montrose Bay. Montrose Bay doesn't have any moorings, but it's a little bit windier. So I think is that correct, General Manager?
Through you, Mayor. I think Wilkinson's Point is the front runner in terms of the Burberry report because of the existing development that has already occurred in terms of facilities out there. I think what Burberry's have tried to do is provide a couple of options, and obviously the alternative with Montrose Bay is that it is closer to residential catchments, although those residential catchments are also bisected by multiple lanes of highway. So, I think, I'd say that Wilkinson's Point was seen as the front runner in that equation.
Okay. Yeah, just if the resolution is clear to others and to whoever's reading it, that's fine. But yeah, it just didn't seem super clear to me.
So, through you, Mayor, so the intention would be to include both of those sites in the consultation process.
Okay. So let's just leave it as it is.
Okay then. Any further debate? No, then I'll move back to Alderman Cockshutt to close debate.
Thank you, Mayor. I think it's good to see consensus around the table. Everyone's very supportive of the notion of having a ferry terminal within the municipality. All the reports saying today is, like the gentleman here said, that we are acknowledging the funding by the federal government. We've got in-principle support of the ferry terminal around the table. We're going to conduct community consultation and advocate for parking to be managed by the State Growth and Wilkinson's Point. So overall, good discussion, and look forward to the coming months to see what comes of the ferry terminal.
Thank you. Very good summation. I'm going to put that motion to the vote. All those in favour, raise your right hand or left hand if you like. Thank you. That's carried unanimously. Move on to item 10, results of the 2024 by-election for Mayor and Councillor. Thank you, Alderman King. Thank you, Alderman Cockshutt. Okay, would you like to speak to this, Alderman King?
Yeah, why not? Why not? Congratulations, Mayor, and congratulations, Alderman Stringer, on being elected. Good to look at that, that's excellent. And congratulations particularly to Alderman Yaxley and Alderman Alderton, of the current Alderman that stood. And as you mentioned before, what a lovely, clean campaign this was. We've seen things before that haven't been this pleasant, and I would commend you and recommend you all for your efforts in representing this council. And here we are, away we go. Let's move forward, onward and upward. Someone said that, must be Buzz Lightyear or something, I don't know. But anyway, let's go.
Any further discussion? Thank you, Alderman.
I've just got a question for you, Mayor, to the General Manager. I was just going through, looking at these roles that you have, and I was just checking the list that I had. And I just wanted the previous Mayor had another one, where she was on the board, General Manager of the Southern Waste Group, which she represented, and it's a board which was a director's position. I'm just wondering, is that not included because it's a separate board? No, it's not that one.
Southern Tasmania.
No, that's not.
Through you, Mayor. So I think we are referring to one and the same thing, which is the Southern Tasmanian Regional Waste Authority. So there is a board for that authority as well.
Yes.
My understanding, and the Deputy General Manager may be able to add some further detail on this, but my understanding is each of the mayors sits on the forum. It's a little bit
That's right.
a little bit similar to the owners' representatives group for Taswater. So each of the mayors sits on the forum for the Regional Waste Authority, but there is also a separate board which the previous mayor was on, and I understand the Mayor of Sorell might have been on it as well. My understanding is that there is a separate process underway with that authority to select new board members.
It's open for any of them, isn't it?
The Deputy General Manager might be able to add a bit further on that.
My only question I raise there, Deputy General Manager and General Manager, is that we actually did have a board, we actually had a paper, which wasn't put through earlier before I came on the second time, that the mayor was actually put up to that position and actually came through us. So to me, if that was the situation, the council actually made a decision. So why is it not made a decision this time? That's probably where I'm coming from. That's all, for that particular directorship. See?
Thank you. Would you like to add to that?
Yeah.
Through you, Mayor. The mayor's the automatic representative on the forum.
Spot on, yep.
For this council, but doesn't automatically be appointed to the board.
Okay.
So there is a separate election process to select a chief forum representative and a deputy chief forum. And that's what the Mayor of Sorell and the Mayor of, previous Mayor of Glenorchy actually were, the chief rep and the deputy chief rep. They do actually get put on the board.
Okay.
So the elections for those positions happened a couple of weeks ago while we were in a suspended state with the mayor. So those positions are already filled. So, and they'll be, I think the next election will take place in 2 years' time.
Okay. I only raised that, General Manager, because it did come through as on our agenda as a council item, and which council made a decision. But I understand it now, totally, and thank you for that. So I'm happy with all your authority and things you've got to do, Mayor.
Could I just also clarify that the Southern Regional Tasmanian, the Southern Regional Waste Authority has had a name change, just in case you hear it so you're not confused. It's now called Tas Waste.
That's right.
Tas Waste South.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just taking advice for a second. We have an urgent item.
Yes, Mayor. So one of the, if I could perhaps mention, I circulated to elected members earlier today that we are required under the Local Government Act for council to discuss the results of an elected poll at the next council meeting, which is tonight's meeting. It's just unfortunate that the results of the elected poll happen on Saturday, and so we need to discuss tonight. So I've suggested in my covering memo that council consider that item and bring that onto the agenda and discuss for tonight's meeting. I'll just read some excerpts from my memo. So this is allowed under the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulations, and what I'm required to do is to advise you of the reason why the report wasn't on the original agenda. The reason for that is that the elected poll results weren't available when the agenda closed last week. Secondly, I'm required to advise you that it's an urgent item. It's an urgent item because the Act provides that the Council is required to discuss the result of an elected poll at its next ordinary meeting, which is tonight. And thirdly, I have to indicate that the advice has been prepared by a qualified person, and I'm saying that I've prepared this as the General Manager.
Are you willing to add it on to this?
I move, Mayor.
Move it to it would need to be by absolute majority is required to allow that item to be accepted.
Is it as an addition or included in this one? So we haven't closed this one off.
No, sorry. Yeah, I'm just foreshadowing.
It's an amendment?
No, it'll be a separate report after.
Would you like me to do a quick and
Yes.
dirty clean up?
Yep.
of this one?
I'll move that one.
All right, we're just going to clean up this one first.
We haven't finished this one, yeah.
Yeah, so if we could, is everyone on board with this? Is there any further discussion?
Just actually a question.
Yes.
Through you to the general manager. I note with the mayor moving up, there'll be some vacancies on some strategic committees too come to mind, of the audit panel and the GMPRC. So they'll be coming before the next council meeting for around the table nominations
That's correct.
rather than seconding. Thank you. Just wanted to clarify.
Okay, thank you for that. So I'm going to put this motion. Did you want to say something?
I just wanted to say, welcome to Alderman Stringer, congratulations, and obviously yourself, Mayor, on your election to a mayoral position, and also to Alderman Yaxley and Alderman who ran for the mayor. I think, like Alderman King said, it was a very fair campaign and very clean. So I think it is hard when you put yourself up for public office in a position. So tip my hat off to you guys, and obviously it's great to have a full team. Once again, look forward to working everyone around the table moving forward. So.
And can we also just acknowledge Deanne Kelly too for making a valiant effort as well? Thank you. It is hard to have to put your hand up. So this motion was moved by Alderman King. Do you want to close debate? Yes, you do.
We do. No, we're happy. I'm good. Everyone's happy.
Okay, thank you. So I'll put the motion. All those in favour, raise your hand. Yes, it's carried unanimously. Now, General Manager, please. Sorry, you against it?
No, I'll move this next motion.
Okay, and the next motion is about the full poll.
That's correct.
So that is moved by Alderman Slade. Who's going to second it? Alderman King. Thank you. And I'm going to have to let the General Manager carry most of this debate.
So do we have to, sorry, just a point of order. Do we have to vote to add it to the agenda?
First, yeah.
That's correct. So the regulations require that the council can't discuss an item unless it's on the agenda. As I explained, this, in my view, meets the requirements to be added as an urgent item. But council needs to agree with that by absolute majority to enable the item to be included. And I'd also suggest that we add that we reorder the agenda numbers if this is allowed.
Unless you want to leave it to the end.
We move to the end of the general. It's just logical, given that we've just done the election piece. Elector poll probably sits next week.
Okay.
Let's do it.
I'm happy with that.
Okay, so do we need any discussion? No?
Well,
yes?
Through you, Mayor, did you want me to just give a very quick rundown? Obviously,
Yes, please.
all aldermen have received it. As I mentioned earlier, there is a requirement under the Local Government Act for this item to be discussed, giving the results of the elector poll, and for that to be discussed following the outcome. So to the question, do you support the council with committed government funding urgently repairing and reopening the Glenorchy War Memorial Pool? There were 19,637 electors that voted yes, 2,421 electors that voted no. So that's 89.02% yes, 10.98% no. To the second question, should the council apply for future government funding to retain the pool and redevelop it into a modern public pool facility that will serve the Glenorchy area for the longer term? There were 20,547 electors that voted yes, 1,539 electors that voted no. So that's 93.03% said yes, 6.97% no. Said no. And I think there's already been a bit of reporting to this meeting, discussion in this meeting already about the funding that the Premier has confirmed will be included in the 24-25 state budget to undertake the repair and reopening project. We've also heard from officers that the works, planning works for that are actively underway. The second question related to redeveloping the pool into a modern public pool facility to serve Glenorchy for the longer term, and for us to apply for future government funding. We're approaching that through the MI Global current consultancy. And the aim of that project is to decide the best long-term facility and prepare a business case that can be used to seek money from the government. That project is still underway, and community and stakeholders have been asked their views. There's a short list of 3 options which will be subject to further engagement. And the next stage is to develop the detailed cost estimates and a cost-benefit analysis of the shortlisted options before honing it into a preferred long-term pool concept and business case. And it's expected that the MI Global project is on track to be completed in August 2024, with a report for council to consider, including the preferred option, concept design, costings, and ideas for how to pay for it. So the recommendation in the report is, 1, to note the results of an elected poll on the Glenorchy War Memorial Pool, as I read out just before. 2, to note that the project to repair and reopen the pool using $5 million in state government funding is currently underway. And 3, to note that the MI Global project on pool redevelopment and alternative options, which explores a long-term solution for the pool site, is at an advanced stage following extensive community engagement, with the report expected to be handed to council for its consideration in August 2024.
Mayor, I'm just moving the first part, that's being that this particular item be added to our agenda tonight. That's what I'm moving.
Right.
Right, that's the first part.
Do we not already accept that?
No.
We're going to move in second, but not.
No, okay, fair enough.
Now we know what we're moving in a second.
Yeah.
Okay, so does anyone have any further discussion on this point? If not,
Just add to the agenda.
Just add it.
add it to the
Just add
agenda.
it.
And move the other items one back.
Yeah, reorder the numbers. No problem. In that case, I put the motion and it's carried unanimously.
And now the motion itself is whether we accept the elected poll.
I'd like to move an amendment just to add something in to the first point.
So, wait a minute, are you moving it, are you moving this are you moving this motion with an amendment?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And who wants to second it?
Well, we'll hear what it is first.
Councillor Kendall, yeah.
It's only like a
We haven't heard it yet.
data one,
You haven't heard it yet.
just for clarity. So just to add to point 1, where it says note the results of the elected poll on the Glenorchy War Memorial Pool. It's got question 1 and 2 and yes and no. Can we just, I would like to add in electors enrolled 33,554, balance return 22,479, response rate of elected poll 66.99%. Just so all the data's in there.
Any further discussion? Are you happy with that, General Manager? Okay, in that case, I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye or raise your hand, and that is carried unanimously. Now, we're moving on to item 11, financial report to the 31st of May 2024. Who would like to move this one? Thank you, Alderman Alderton. And seconder, thank you, Alderman Cockshott. Would you like to discuss, start the discussion, please?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Mayor. So first of all, I'd just like to commend Alan Wise and his team for delivering another very thorough and detailed financial performance report to 31st of May 2024, and I'll just unpack some small highlights out of it. So basically, the good news stories are that our operational revenue is 71.753 million compared to a budgeted operational revenue of 70.851 million. This represents a favourable result of 0.903 million against 1.3% against budget. Expenditure, there's also some news there. That's another favourable result. Their expenditure to date is 61.937 million compared to a budget expenditure of 4.82 million, so another favourable result of 2.54 million or 3.9% against the budget. Non-operating capital revenue was 7.08 million against a budget of 11.971 million. So lots of good news stories out of this financial report where we've really performed well in this year to date. And that's just all I'd like to add. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Thank you. Councillor King. Quick.
To the knockers of the community who reckon that they don't know what's going on in Glenorchy Council and there's no transparency, have a look at this financial performance report. It's so detailed that, I mean, Freddie the blind miner could understand it. And I'd like to pay tribute to Manager of Finance and his wonderful team for the preparation of this. It's very positive. We're on the right track. And as I say, for the knockers in the community, have a read of this, digest it and spread the word.
Thank you. And I think also, Councillor Quick, that these figures are then also processed through our audit committee, which has some highly credentialed accountants and auditors on board. Any further discussion? No? In that case, I'm putting this motion. All those in favour, raise your hand. That is also carried unanimously. We now move on to item 12, the revised financial hardship policy, and I'm going to ask whether Alderman Dunsky would like to move this one, as it's a passion close to her heart.
Thank you very much. Appreciate being able to do this.
Thank you. And you'd like to second it? Thank you, Councillor Kendall.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm pleased to see that we did develop the policy and we've seen putting it in action. It's needed some tweaks to be able to accommodate people to do that and to make it easy for people to access it, for council to be able to carry their role in that. So very pleased to see it as a work in progress, as policies are, that they are flexible and able to meet needs and have it come to us.
Any further discussion or debate? No, I think it's known that all policies need review from time to time, and this is to make it more effective. So I'm putting that motion. All those in favour, raise your hand. Thank you. Carried unanimously. Item 13, notices of motion, questions on notice without notice. And there was a question received on Friday the 19th of April by Alderman Dunsby based on parking, and it's quite an extensive report. Would you like to move this one, Alderman Dunsby?
We don't
Or
need
you
to.
can't, you don't move it?
No, not for questions on notice.
Right, okay, we're just noting them.
Only if there's another question.
Yep, okay, does anyone else have another question?
I've got a question about notice,
Thank
and I
you.
kind of said it earlier in the meeting, so I just want a bit of clarity. So my question is in regards to the meetings between the council and Department of State Growth in regards to the Glenorchy basketball courts proposal from the state government. Just a bit of a timeline on where we're at. When do we foresee a proposal or plan to come back to council at a workshop which can be discussed with elected members?
I'll pass that one to the General Manager.
Please.
Through you, Mayor. I may need to look to the Deputy General Manager in a minute, but I don't think we have a hard and fast timeline on it, but I know I attended the initial meeting where we reviewed the site selection criteria. I think we've pretty much finalised the site selection criteria. We've looked at half a dozen or more sites, and a subsequent meeting went through and looked at those in more detail on our geographical information system to get more data on each of the individual sites. In terms of the timelines, I know that the state public servants made it very clear that they had the hard words put on them, so to speak, to generate a quick result after the delays that we'd seen with the community courts at Wilkinson's Point. But the Deputy General Manager might be able to add a few more points on that.
Thank you, Mayor. The team has taken away a short list of around 4 sites from our meeting where we went through the selection criteria for the sites. It's been narrowed down to about 4. They have gone off now to do some more work on where are the services, what sort of costs are involved, because they are trying to reuse as much of the engineering and architectural design that's already been done on the courts that were proposed for Wilkinson's Point. And they are going to come back to us in the near future, but didn't give us a hard and fast timeline. But just to reiterate what the General Manager said, they did make it quite clear that they need to produce something very soon.
Yeah. And so will we get a short list come back or a final solution to council at a workshop, or what's the process from there?
Through you, Mayor. So at this stage, my understanding is that the state government is seeing it as their project, something they would build and operate. We've certainly been pushing that we don't want to be depreciating a facility, owning or depreciating a facility on our books, if we can help it. And so we effectively, the ball is in, excuse the pun, but again, the ball is in the state government's court.
Yeah, of course.
That they, it's a matter for their planning to bring it forward ultimately it depends on whether they select a site that might be council owned or a site that is state government owned. I think they've pretty much ruled out any private ownership type sites. So it will really depend. Our involvement formally in this process will really depend on which kind of site is selected. If it's a Crown-owned site, our involvement will be basically regulatory. Will be in the planning process for it. If it's a council-owned site, and there's a requirement for a Section 178 process to be undertaken for either lease or license of that land, for lease or sale of that land beyond 5 years, then that would need to come to us to go through the formal land disposal process and then followed by the planning process.
Yeah. I guess my biggest concern is, given we know what State Grove did last time, how long was a piece of string, my biggest concern is it's still a community facility. How do we as a council, although we want State Grove, it's kind of their thing, I want to make sure that the grassroots basketball associations, like the Glenorchy Basketball Association and the Chargers, are involved as part of the stakeholder management piece. So it's all good to build something, but you've got to get the people who are going to use it so they can have ideas of what's required by clubland, what does the next 30 years or 20 years of infrastructure look like for community basketball and netball. So that's where I'm coming from. I'm just concerned that the people aren't going to have their say in this. So I just want to hold the Department of State Growth and the government accountable, saying these are your key stakeholders, the people who are the bread and butter and the supporters. Let's make sure we take them along the journey and be involved in communication, so we don't have no communications going out, what's going on, because at the end of the day, the community gets pressure on us, right? So we're just trying to hold accountable. We've lost the high performance centre out of no fault of our own, so we need to make sure we hold the State Grove accountable to get these courts up and running sooner rather than later, given it was a 2018 election promise, which is quite some time ago. So I can understand the frustrations with the community rights. But I appreciate the work council's doing on the back end as well.
Thank you. Are there any other questions without notice? No? Well, I'm afraid that brings our public meeting to a close. I'd like to thank those who came along and attended the meeting, and anyone who's online watching or maybe watching at some other stage. It's always a pleasure to have you attend our meetings. Thank you.
So we might go to close council.
Yes, you may be able to move to close the meeting.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Alderman King. Alderman Cockshott. With that motion, all those in favour, raise your hand. Thank you. Good night.
Can I ask for a 5-minute recess?
You may.
Thank you.